What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the WARFRAME video. So, we're talking about VALKYR Prime in 2022 today. One of my old favorite frames. How's she doing? Unfortunately for VALKYR, she's got a couple abilities that are really bad nowadays, and her main, good ability feels pretty clunky in my opinion, but it does have some very specific use cases that I was having fun with. Before we get into it though, make sure to check the live stream channel and make sure to sub to this channel. We do daily WARFRAME video uploads and almost daily streams. Alright, so we're going over VALKYR today. I did have an invigoration for the gameplay footage we'll show on the Steel Path, but just the general gist of what VALKYR's got going on. She's basically got two really bad abilities, and those bad abilities are called Rip Line, which is going to be thrown out like a rip line, I guess, and then you pull the enemy, and it does, not a lot of damage. It's honestly just a relic of, 2015 or whatever when VALKYR came out, because we didn't have the mobility of jumping we had right now back then, so this ability is, super outdated. And I hope they rework it, honestly. The other really bad ability is called Paralysis. So, get a lot of this. You lose your shield to damage and knock and stun nearby enemies. So, you lose your shield. And if you remember, if you know what the current, survivability meta in this game is, it's make sure you're regenerating your shield as fast as possible to get shield gating. So losing your shield is the opposite of the meta. This ability does impact damage too, so it's just bad. Apparently it sets enemies up for finishers, but with the setup I'm showing you today, we've actually removed that ability for a strictly better one. Instead of removing your shields, Thorough Strike from Styanax on the Helminth system will remove the enemy shields, while also giving you 200 health per enemy hit with this build, 2,000 damage, which is also impact, and a full armor and shield strip. So with this build on VALKYR, we will be crushing acolytes where they stand, and, we're being pretty tanky. Unfortunately, the armor stat is not, it doesn't hold up super well. It'll hold up until level, I'd say 500-600. But after that, you're going to be using shield getting and rolling guard. This is not a shield getting rolling guard build, but I put it on here anyway because you kind of just need rolling guard now as you're doing longer missions. If you want to do a more casual version of this build, just get adaptation, and it will stack nicely with your armor and all that to make you really tanky. But yeah, VALKYR is one of the highest armor frames in the game. With this build, triple Umbra, no other, armor mods, we've got 2,000 plus armor, giving us an 87.2% damage reduction to our health, not our shields. So let's get some gameplay and we'll talk about this. Here's one of the problems that VALKYR runs into. Now, her good abilities are her 2 and her 4. You just saw me use both of them right there. Her second ability, Warcry, gives increased melee attack speed. It also, I think, increases her armor and will reduce enemy speed in the area when she casts it. Her fourth ability, Hysteria, basically, VALKYR pulls out the big claws and does some big damage. As you saw, it one-shot that acolyte. Now that is with armor strip and void strike, but this build is about just you're chilling all the time, and then when you see the acolyte, you push your 4, you push void strike, and you blast the acolyte away with armor strip too. So that's the idea of this build: running around, just chilling, having a tanky situation with armor strip and healing, and then when the acolyte appears, that's when death mode is activated. You just blow that acolyte away. Actually, you stomp them into the ground, actually, because VALKYR's heavy attack in her claws is just like a stomp attack, and it's pretty satisfying to use. So, let's go over the build a little bit more here. So, as far as the mods we've chosen here, we're focusing around being able to cast Styanax's Helminth ability, Thorough Strike, quite often, as this will heal us, and we have lots of armor, we have EHP, basically. We lose some health, we heal back up, and we just keep going. So, Hunter Adrenaline will make it where we can always have energy to cast Thorough Strike. As we lose health, we get energy. We cast Thorough Strike, it has a very small energy cost. We get our health back. It's a cycle, and we want 200% power strength so we can fully strip enemy armor in one cast of Thorough Strike. So the idea of this is basically, just go in. You don't even have to cast your 2, but you can. And then Thorough Strike will make it where enemies' armor and shield are gone. They also are set up for finishers as well, making it just vastly superior to her 3. 6 million damage on that guy. So that's what the idea of the build is, just armor strip and one shot. I've actually equipped a good melee on VALKYR because, her second ability that you're keeping is literally a melee attack speed buff. So for Nami Scala Prime, pretty nice. You can technically take off an attack speed mod, although I wouldn't really recommend it. Attack speed is pretty good DPS increase in most situations. But yeah, you really don't need to like fully focus on melee here. We're on about, what level are these guys in the steel path? They're probably like about like level like 150, and they're not really able to kill me. Now keep in mind, I do have 1,000 extra health here as I had an invigoration, but you know, I wouldn't probably be dying without the invigoration anyway, because you know she's still at like 1,000 plus health with this build. But the thing is here is that okay, I can use Valkyr's claw ability and it does a lot of damage. But, like, is it really, like, that crazy more damage than my actual claws? Or than my actual melee weapon that I'm going to be switching off of it? For the Acolyte, and if you're using the Enraged Augment for what we're using in this video, yeah, maybe. Because if I didn't show this earlier, the Enraged Augment for Valkyr is what we're utilizing here. And it makes your 4th ability do, like, ridiculous damage. But it gives it a cooldown. So activating Valkyr's 4 will make it... You'll get increased crit damage and... overall damage, but it will last for 15 seconds and receive a cooldown. So depending on how much duration you have, it can be up to a 23-second duration cooldown if you stay in it for too long. So let's just see what I'm talking about here. I activate Hysteria, I deactivate it right away. Look, it's got 1 second cooldown. But if I activate it again with Enraged, and I'd say I wait like 5 seconds, then it's going to have a 5-second cooldown for how long you were in it. So the way I look at it is that the stance for Valkyr's claws kind of feels like crap anyway, so I'm not really going to be using it in the first place. So might as well just use it only for the Acolyte when the Acolyte appears, or like for like if you're doing a Kuva Lich hunt, maybe for a Lich or something. And here's the claws on the Valkyr, or here's the Valkyr claws build I have. I didn't Umbra Forma her claws because I just don't use them that much, but ideally, if you wanted to go all in on Valkyr, you'd probably put an Umbra Forma here. Maybe not even run Conditioned Overload, run like Sacrificial Pressure or something. And then you could go with Viral for the enemies that are armor stripped. I've got Corrosive Heat, good for most things. It can still one-shot the Acolyte with this build. And even with Smite Grenier, hilariously. But yeah, you could go Viral when the armor strip, or when the Acolyte's armor strip. It will technically be a better multiplier. I want to show you guys, it doesn't really matter, honestly, because the Acolyte's going to die anyway with all this damage we're pumping out. So as far as what I would do to change Valkyr's abilities, because they're pretty bad, I think her 1 is... I actually think her 1 is savable, and I think that you should save her 1, because her 1 is very nostalgic for a lot of people that have played this game for a long time. At the same time, though, like, I would definitely be happy with a removal of it for a better ability. But what I would do if I was DE changing Valkyr's 1, I would make it where it's actually not just single target. You don't only hit one enemy with the rip line. You can hit multiple. So I can press the button to release like the single target, wire or whatever, and I can hold it down to release a giant net. And if it's a giant net, depending like how much range you have, you can pull like that whole group of enemies you're looking at right now. I could grab them all, pull them down, and maybe get them up for ground finishers or something. That would be better, just making it not just single target, because the damage is bad. I mean, I fully armor stripped enemy, it did like 6,000 damage. That's like nothing. My weapons do like 10 times that per hit most of the time. So yeah, her second ability, Warcry, maybe make it recastable, or make it where the slowing effect is actually an aura around her while she's in her 4 or something. Her 3, Paralysis, just you can keep that one terrible. We'll just Helminth it off. The funny thing is, Valkyr has a hard time deciding like which one do I want to Helminth off? Which one is worse, the 1 or the 3? For me, I actually like the 1 more than the 3. I just find Paralysis to be like one of the worst abilities in the game, especially when you're comparing it to Tharo Strike. Tharo Strike is just a strip upgrade over Paralysis. So maybe just keep that one terrible. It's pretty hard to fix that one. Maybe remove the shield, remove the shield removal part of it. That would probably be a step in the right direction. And as far as her 4, I know making a new stance for it would probably be way too much work. But maybe make it have more base range or something, or maybe make it where it's got higher crit chance at base without Warcry or without Enrage. I don't know. Like, it does good damage. It's the whole thing of it being a melee weapon that has not the best range, and I could just use a normal melee weapon with like Rivens and stuff like that. There's no Rivens for Valkyr's claws, obviously. So, she's playable. She's playable in 2022, and I was actually having a lot of fun in this mission. But I'm using meta weapons basically. I'm using the Kuva Tankor with a anti-Grenier build. I'm using my Nami Skyla with a Riven that is meant for killing these guys. Oh, by the way, as far as like a melee build, I was telling you Viral would be good in the claws earlier. The idea of why Viral is good actually being modded for here, not just a Conditioned Overload proc, is because of Tharo Strike's armor removal. Once those enemies get their armor removed, the damage types they're weak to actually change. So, for example, I'm going to show you in the simulacrum right now. We're fighting some, I guess these are like just normal Grenier here. I'm going to pull up a Bombard's health type, okay? And I'm going to show you the build for the Nami Sky that I rocked in this mission. So we got a Corrupted Bombard right here. He's weak to radiation on the alloy flesh. As you can see, 3 pluses next to radiation. But then once he goes to clone flesh, it gets 3 pluses on viral. So if an enemy has no armor, usually viral damage is what you want to rock against them. It will have massively increased multiplier, and we're going to talk about the procs here. So the build I went for an armor-stripped enemy setup is actually viral. I could have technically taken off Weeping Wounds, but I want to get some slash procs too. And you might be like, well, this build looks bad because you're not fully focusing on slash procs. For entirely focusing on slash procs, sure, it's not the best. My Riven is actually viral, range, and minus slide crit. Pretty much ideal for what I want here. You cannot fit this build on without this Riven. So if you wanted to fit a viral build on with no Riven, you're going to probably need to do something like this. Now, thankfully, we're on VALKYR, so we don't need to be... We technically don't need to be modding for attack speed, but yeah, if you don't have a viral Riven, you're missing out on certain mod slots that could be used on other things. So yeah, enemy has no armor, viral, it does big damage numbers. You're seeing like multiple 100,000 sometimes. And oh, by the way, for VALKYR, she doesn't need Energize, so you can just go with double melee arcanes. I find her as a melee frame personally, but since we have so much armor, you could actually go with like Grace or something, which will give you good EHP from all the health regen. One more thing about armor, guys. Modding for too much armor is really not worth it. It has massively diminishing returns. So with 2,000 armor, we have 87% damage reduction on our health. Seems pretty decently high. Let's go over to this build I made for testing purposes to show you that more armor doesn't matter. So now we have nearly 4,000 armor. We have 3,800. Another 1,800 armor over the previous build. They had 87% damage reduction on health. What number do you think it will be here? Spoiler, it's not that high. You only get about 5% more DR for another nearly 2,000 armor. So I think that armor, and this is actually about this frame in general, the armor needs to get reworked somehow. Like maybe like armor gating or something. Like every 1,000 armor you have will be like some kind of like mini health gate. Because as it stands right here, this is all going to fall off at like level like 500. Now I know they don't design the game around level 500 plus and all that, but like I'm running freaking rolling guard on VALKYR. That just feels wrong. I technically could have run adaptation in this build or in this video, like I said, but you know I know what's going to happen. I know that there's going to be some Blitz Eximus with his 40,000 damage Fire Pillar that would one-shot Anaros 10 times over. I know that's about to happen. There's one right there. So I just ate that shield gate. That is the perfect example right there. You have to shield gate at these high levels or you're just going to die. So I feel like that is just wrong. Even modding for increased shields in the first place is just, it's overall just a bad idea because it makes your shield gate harder to get. Having all this armor and health, yeah, it's nice for like being lazy and like face tanking, but it would have done nothing against that Blitz Eximus right there. So I think they really need to do that eventually. I've been saying that for over a year at least on my videos. They need to rework armor and health modding and all that, but we'll see if they ever end up doing it. The current meta right now is shield gating, and you know, health and armor is kind of just like, you know, that's for more casual gameplay. And I consider this build a little bit casual, to be honest. Even though it can one-shot the Acolyte, no problem at all. The idea of it is you know, supposed to be high-level stuff. So hope you guys found the video helpful. As far as all the builds and stuff I didn't show as far as weapons, I am running Rivens on pretty much everything. That's why I didn't really show them. But yeah, VALKYR build, I actually find that one pretty powerful. Cupid Core is going to be anti-Grenier setup here with viral HM. You could definitely swap for other stuff. Oh, primary dexterity to have increased combo duration. And, you know, we're getting so many melee kills as VALKYR. Might as well use this to get our stacks. Epitaph, I didn't even use the Epitaph in the video. I was using the Piranha Prime. But yeah, similar situation. You just want to viral proc enemies for Condition Overload. A Fire Rate multi-shot Riven. And then I already showed the Nami Skyla. And we're using Matarai Focus School. Use Void Strike once the Acolyte appears. And they're dead. Alright guys, I'll see you next time. Appreciate all the support and take it easy. Peace.